The recovery process for a person involves a paradigm shift. The organisational recovery journey will mirror the individual. The charity itself needs to go through a paradigm shift into becoming a recovery-orientated charity.
There's nobody in Scotland who doesn't know that Scotland is famous for addiction.
In this country we spend over £70 million a year on treatment for alcohol and drugs. But what most people don't know is Scotland is a European leader in community-based recovery. So we are people who are in recovery, families who are family members of people in recovery, treatment providers who are passionate about recovery, community members who've seen the benefits of recovery and just want to applaud it.
What we discovered as an organisation is that when we went about trying to engender that process and then also encourage treatment to facilitate that process, we hit a real block right away, not with treatment but with ourselves as an organisation. They used the best recovery research. They had all of those academics and interested bodies on the board, and they went about it with the, well-meaning.
What did they do that didn't work?
Information-based approaches. If I give you information, if I just say to you recovery is possible, something's going to change. If I just tell you that, show that lived experience story or get people to share their stories in the media, that's going to change the world. If I give you a guide to recovery, that will change. If I do conferences where we debate recovery, that will change. These are all the conventional weaponry of public life for transformation. And like the conventional weaponry of treatment, they did not work. So the organisation itself, this organisation, had a real crisis of faith in itself. And instead of closing down and hunkering down, what the board did, which was amazing, was they opened up their vulnerability and they opened up to total system feedback. Tell us what you think of us. Well, they hired the poacher to become the gamekeeper, didn't they? I got hired, and the board gave a very clear remit for me to reorganise completely from bottom up. We wonder if perhaps the organisational recovery journey will mirror the individual. We wondered, and we experimented, and lo, it does. It mirrors it exactly. The charity itself needs to go through a paradigm shift, and this painful experience is part of its transition into becoming a recovery-orientated charity.
The motor at the heart of the recovery movement, the altruistic dimension, is that we don't just get better in order to carry on with our lives. That's how we got into trouble. We got into trouble because we were selfish. We got into trouble because we believed in this culture that said, I can have my things and my little life without having anything to do with anybody else. So when we got better, we had to realise we're connected. Actually, what happens to you matters to me, and actually affects me, and actually if I'm not helping in any way I can, I'm not doing my job as a human being. And today, in order to stay well from my addictions and my mental health problems, I have to show up every day and do my job as a human being. In 12-step language, we call it a spiritual awakening. In psychosocial language, we call it a paradigm shift. So basically, the basis on which your life has been lived has been derailed by your addiction. So in order to get better, you do not just go back to what you were before, because what you were before, just think about this logically, had addiction in front of it. So you're looking to transcend that situation, to grow bigger than the problems that you have. And it's not simply a cobbling together of, learn a bit of this, do a bit of that. It's something you have to become a different human being.
You went from recovery being something quite small to something having, in your own mind, in treatment it was certainly small and there was only individuals in recovery, to getting this community-based visibility for recovery. We were out, we were proud, and there were hundreds of us. Which is why we walk the bridges. When we walked the Forth Road Bridge, 800 of us crossed the Forth Road Bridge. We were out, we were proud, and we were in public in recovery. Which is why 500 of us took to the Royal Mile. We were out, we were proud, we were in recovery, and you can see us.
there were probably 12 independent recovery support groups 3 years ago, and we could have met in a phone box. Now there's over 80.
The key transformational aspect for us is the way we go about our business is as important as the business we do. Our belief that the staff are skilled, they just need liberated. Talking about abstinence worked. Bringing the lived experience into it worked. Harnessing all the forces, all the tools of all the different assets worked. Working together as citizens and workers worked. We had events where hundreds of people would roll up and they would get us, and what we built in those events was an aliveness around recovery. And we didn't use mainstream media at all to do any of that. We used our connections, our friends and our friends of our friends, and the social medias and our texting. So we move each other in that way. The second thing we discovered, which was completely surprising, is that people at this stage of recovery, 5 years or more, are experiencing what they call the better than well effect, which is they are happier, better adjusted citizens, achieving more of their potential than people who never had an addiction at all. I suffered all those years with my addiction, and now I've got something to help someone else with. I've got experiences, some degree of small wisdom, and something to offer that might help another person get better. There's a lot to love about that.